You're going to love this one. I mean, you're going to love this one. Every time I look up, Mexico Beach is going nuts. You're not going to believe the video I'm going to show you today. Actual disorderly conduct during yesterday's morning Mexico Beach City Council meeting by Councilman Jerry Bad Liability Smith. And I'll tell you what, after the city received the lawsuit from Mayor Michelle Miller, simply demanding that they follow the charter and stop impeding her from performing her charter duties. That's all the lawsuit's about. Since that, and like the day after, the Three Stooges received a cease and desist letter by attorney Marie Maddox, who's representing the mayor in the lawsuit. The day after, they get a cease and desist letter. This is to notify you that you need to immediately stop impeding the mayor's charter duties and responsibilities. You've got to, the charter says, the law is that you have to, help her perform her duties. Everybody's duties and responsibilities laid out by the charter. That's their responsibility. Oh my God. But the day after he gets the letter, Bad Liability goes ballistic in the meeting. I'll show it to you. I do want to point out that people keep saying that the mayor, there are a few orchestrated talking points here. You know how they are. You've got like this orchestrated skit that they're playing out, like their defense to the lawsuit. Everybody's got a role in this epic play that they put on. And one of the scenes in this skit is that she is demanding that the city pay high-priced attorney Marie Maddox. And that's not true. Not a penny, not a dime. City Attorney Clint McCahill points out if the city loses, they're responsible. The city's responsible for covering the attorney fees. That's normal. There's nothing weird about that. But the city has insurance through the Florida League of Cities that they love so much. And so that kind of stuff's covered. There are serious lies being told, by the way. You talk about misinformation and disinformation and conspiracy theories. WMBB is putting them out as fast as they can. And it just might incite violence. It almost did. You saw the show last night. Was it last night? Or Monday night, where the heckler, they almost came to blows. Because the heckler thinks, or at least is his part of the play maybe, is that they've got to raise property taxes in order to pay for this super expensive lawsuit by the mayor. I mean, WMBB is pumping it out. I'll show you one of their stories tonight. But before I get to the videos, which I'm going right to, I hope you'll tag and share and call your friends because this is going to be a good one. And we'll get right to it after
When
this.
your life is on the line, hire the lawyer who lives in our community, works in our community, and worships in our community. I'm Al Saulene, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. So the first thing I want to do is show you how WMBB covered the press conference on Monday. You remember Mayor Miller held a press conference in front of City Hall at 5 p.m. And in this press conference, she explained to the residents and the voters and the property owners of Mexico Beach why she was compelled to file the lawsuit, which is known as a writ of mandamus and an injunction. And basically that just means the writ of mandamus means that they've got to do the right thing, right? And give her full access to all the financials and so on and so forth. And stop doing the wrong thing is the injunction part. Stop impeding her ability to perform her charter duties, which include presiding over the meetings, being the presiding officer and following the agenda and Robert's Rules of Order. That's what the presiding officer does. And by the way, not only is WMBB creating an environment and inflaming people with their, I don't say misinformation because that's so stupid, with their lies. Stop lying, Tom. Tell the truth. Huey Lewis on the news. But the sheriff's office, I believe, has some culpability here because after that 5 p.m. press conference where Michelle Miller announced the purpose of the lawsuit, they had immediately the next morning, yesterday morning, they had a city council meeting, and it was hot. People are inflamed. And the most inflamed of all is Jerry Bad Liability Smith over there to the right. He said, "You don't tell me what to do, lady. I do what I want." I'm not joking. You're going to see it. And by the way, also at the city council meeting yesterday, the city attorney, who I can't believe hasn't had a bar complaint filed on him yet. This guy openly badmouths his client in public. The mayor is also his client before the lawsuit was filed. If your attorney is openly badmouthing you, that's a conflict of interest, and I believe an ethics violation. Anyway, he announced he had a written statement. He's pretty concerned now. He had a written statement yesterday, and in the written statement, he hinted that he might not even be there at the next meeting. So he might be the next resignation, the next person forced out by Mayor Meany over there in Mexico Beach. I'll show you. It's a mess. What you're going to see is an absolute. Somebody sent me a message, and I think they pretty much nailed what it looked like, the press conference and the meetings now, with everybody acting crazy. Said the Mexico Beach is classic. It's a combination of the Beverly Hillbillies, Andy Griffith, and Green Acres with a guest appearance from Boss Hogg. I kept looking for someone climbing up a telephone pole to call the sheriff. Nailed it. But the sheriff's office has got some culpability here because there's a deputy in those meetings. Because Mexico Beach does not have a police department, the sheriff's office has jurisdiction there. And so there's a deputy there, just like at the county commission meetings. And the presiding officer, the chairman, if somebody's out of hand, and Al Cathy used to do it, will say, look, you've got to sit down. Okay, you've had your 3 minutes. And if people don't, then it's the job of the deputy to help to assist the chairman. Now, the deputy in those meetings wears 2 hats. He's always a law enforcement officer. And the chairman or the presiding officer cannot say, "Deputy, arrest this woman," or "this guy." Can't do that. But the deputy also wears a different hat, a bailiff hat, right? Where he is there to assist the chairman, the presiding officer, in this case, Mayor Miller, used to be Al Cathy, in keeping an orderly meeting. So if somebody doesn't sit down, the deputy has to come over there and say, "You got to sit down," or even "You got to leave." And to her credit, she actually had somebody leave because it's a resident there who's critical of what these commissioners, councilmen are doing, especially Jerry Smith. And he got into it with Jerry Smith, and he called him a dumbass. And Michelle Miller said, "Look," and he supports her. She had her supporter removed for doing that. I thought that showed fairness. I'm not seeing these guys, when their supporters say stuff or swipe at me, throw their arms at me. I'm not seeing anybody saying, "Hey, you got to leave." But she did that, and I thought that showed fairness. And I even think the gentleman who said it would agree. All right, let's take a look at Mexico Beach. All right, yeah. So the sheriff's office, my point is, has an obligation to keep things orderly and to assist the chairman, or in this case, the mayor, the presiding officer. When they showed up Monday night to the disturbance at the press conference, the more I think about it, they should have went directly to the city official who put the function on, the mayor, and said, "Mayor, what's going on? How can we assist?" Instead, they immediately started talking to the couple that caused the guy that was using his arms, and you'll see it in the video, that kind of shoved the lady there. All right, let's watch. Let's watch Huey Lewis in the news and see how WMBB explains it. Listen close. Listen to the tone of Tom Lewis, the news director, who's in on it. And does he say that the mayor called a press conference to express why she filed the lawsuit? That's not what he says. All right, let's get right to it.
Her own city council and council members. As she held a news speech, Mayor Michelle Miller tried to explain why she is suing her own city council and council members.
She tried.
As she held a news conference earlier this evening, hoping to share transparency with the community, as she phrased it. News 13's Courtney Evans joins us live in our studios. Courtney, why did things quickly spiral out of control at that news conference?
Tom, one resident was asking questions and making comments while Miller.
Hold up. Now, Courtney, you were there. You were standing. You could have reached out and touched the guy. You were so close to him. He was raising questions. He was, how did she phrase this? Is she reporting this the way it happened? Listen.
Miller was speaking. That upset.
Why did things quickly spiral out of control at that news conference?
Tom, one resident was asking questions and making comments while Miller was speaking. That upset others in attendance, and eventually deputies were called to the scene. Mayor Michelle Miller began her news conference with a moment of silence for 9/11. Then she somewhat explained why she filed a lawsuit and cease and desist order against council members.
Somewhat explained? She tried to explain. She somewhat explained. She explained it, and there was a heckler. That's what happened. You saw it if you watched my raw live video.
Certain members of the city council, city administrator, and city attorney have done everything to thwart or subvert my charter authority as mayor.
She stated this action is not an easy choice.
I am not seeking monetary.
You hear the
relief.
heckler.
Simply asking the court to enable me to do my job you elected me to perform.
Miller's attorney, Marie Maddox, backs up her statement. In a statement Maddox issued to us this evening, she says, "There is nothing that Mayor Miller has done to cost the citizens of Mexico Beach a penny. The citizens are not paying the legal bills for her to try to get to the bottom of the finances within the city. But many are still reacting to the original lawsuit,
Okay, watch.
stating Miller is suing for legal."
Okay, you see the guy on the left. That's the heckler. All right. And a lady is trying to tell him, hey, let her finish. Let her talk. So the guy tries to walk to his left and she kind of cuts him off. And then he tries to walk to his right. She kind of cuts him off. And he puts his arm out. He makes contact with her, like, get out of my way. Don't block my way. Now, could the deputies have arrested the guy? Yes, they could have. Should they have? In my opinion, no. He did not have the intent to shove her aside. And one of the deputies who reviewed the video, that was his point. That he was trying to get to where he could see and continue what he was doing. And so even though, they could have, I believe that they did the right thing and used discretion, and nobody had to go to jail that night. And that's the way we want to keep it. But I'll tell you what, this powder keg in Mexico Beach with inflamed residents, the sheriff's office needs to do, Sheriff Tommy Ford is very well aware of all this, their bailiff in there, whose job is to assist the presiding officer, needs to assist the presiding officer before something like this turns into a couple of 75-year-old guys or 60-year-old guys throwing blows at each other and somebody really getting hurt. I'm not quite 60, but I don't want to be throwing blows with anybody either. All right, watch the guy on the left now.
For legal costs and fees. This man, who does not support Miller, got into a minor altercation with other residents. Mayor Miller asked for someone to call 911. Bay County Sheriff's deputies responded to the scene and took statements from several people, but no one has been arrested at this time.
It's a sad day in Mexico Beach, but I definitely appreciate y'all coming out. The courts will decide this.
Mitch Coleman has lived in Mexico Beach.
Now this is so strange. This is so strange. This story is about the press conference. Okay. And they take a minute, WMBB, and they go to a different location and interview this gentleman. So they go to interview this gentleman, and this guy says some really fascinating stuff. So in Florida, there is a mechanism by law by which you can recall mayors and city council members and stuff like that. A charter city like Mexico City, you can the citizens can recall a mayor if the mayor has done there's 7 things: malfeasance, misfeasance, moral turpitude. There's the person has to have done something, right? This resident that they sought out, that they went to a different location to interview, says, we've already got a recall petition written. And we've already bought the yard signs, the road signs, recall Mayor Miller. What? Who wrote it? Who paid for the recall Mayor Miller signs? That's interesting stuff. So I'll be reporting on how that process works. But isn't it weird that WMBB ends the disruption of the press conference? Well, they start off by saying that guy was just asking questions. And then they go somewhere else to this gentleman who says they're going to recall her. For what? We don't know yet. We haven't seen it, but it's been written already. And they got the signs. They've already paid for the signs. Now, you can't, this mechanism, this legal mechanism to recall a mayor or a city councilman, they have to have served a quarter of their term before it can be invoked. And so since Mexico Beach has 2-year terms, 6 months have to pass before they can launch the recall effort. And that would be in a month and a half or so, right? But watch this. So they go out and find Mitch here, and this is what he says.
Beach for more than 20 years. He says he's never seen anything like this.
It has definitely put a line in the sand. We have people here in this city that 5 years ago were helping their neighbors, tarping their roofs, cutting the trees out of their yard. Those neighbors don't even speak to each other now.
He doesn't think a lawsuit is the solution.
It doesn't require a lawyer from Tallahassee. This is something that, again, this is the way the city has been run for a long, long time. And she keeps referring to the city charter and to how the city charter defines her role.
Residents are preparing to take action against Miller next month.
There is a recall. The process is underway. In fact, street signs have been ordered to recall Miller signs. People are very angry, and they're more angry recently because of the lawsuit that she's brought against the city.
State law prevents the recall of any politician that's been in office less than 6 months. Miller was elected in April.
So it's coming up on 6 months. Courtney, what is next in this controversy?
Tom.
The city council meets tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Oh my God. So Tom Huey Lewis the news. His input is, so that's coming up real soon. You ain't gonna be able to get her. Listen,
This is not
Tom.
on the agenda, but anything.
Courtney, what is next in this controversy?
The lawsuit that she's brought against the city.
State law prevents the recall of any politician that's been in office less than 6 months. Miller was elected in April.
So it's coming up on 6 months. Courtney, what is next in this controversy?
Tom, the city council meets tomorrow at 9 a.m. This is not on the agenda, but anything is possible.
As we have
I'll say anything's possible. I'm going to show you what ended up happening. What ended up happening the very next morning, yesterday morning, during the city council meeting, is Jerry Bad Liability Smith, council member. He just went nuts. You watch for yourself, and you tell me if I'm exaggerating, and I'm going to show you that right after this.
It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan could make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at PCAirrepair.com.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
All right, let's watch. I put them on my YouTube channel, and that's where we're going to watch them from. So if you haven't already done it, oh my goodness, if you want to see old TV shows I did like 9 years ago on national politics, there's so much on this channel. I don't have nearly as many subscribers on YouTube as I do on Facebook, but you could sure make me happy if you subscribe to the channel, and I guarantee you'll have a blast looking at the old videos. So here it is. It's the Bernie Thompson Show on YouTube. So subscribe if you get a chance. These are up right now. All right, let's take a look at yesterday morning's meeting. Okay, here it is.
Denied it to her. Now, I don't understand why people can't understand that part of it. It is true. It is, did you say it's not true? I did. It is true. You're telling me.
Excuse me, can I?
Yes.
Mr. McCahill, can you avoid comments at this moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I want it, if he's got something, I know, man, you can't stop me now, we're gonna look with you. If he's got something to say that protects the city, go ahead, bang it again. Protect the city, he has the right to keep us out of the lawsuit. Y'all, please.
You know, I brought you something and I forgot to bring it to you. It was the Robert's Rules of Order. And it's really small. This is Robert's Rules of Order, and it's in the charter.
You can't
I know
make me
you
do
haven't
that.
read that either.
No, ma'am, you can't make me do nothing, but
I'm giving him the
Clint,
floor for 1 minute, so if
Clint.
you don't mind, I apologize.
I don't need to, Mr. I don't need that. That's bull to me. Clint, if you got something to say, me as a city council meeting would like to hear what you had to say when
I
people
sat
say.
here on at least 2 or 3
Point of
occasions.
order. Point of order. Thank you, ma'am.
And what does she do?
Point of order.
She can't
You
order.
don't understand this?
Yes, ma'am, I do, but does.
Apparently you do not understand the Robert's Rules of Order.
Yes, ma'am, you
I
man,
am the presiding officer, sir.
Well, please
and I would
preside.
like for you to stop.
please
Stop.
preside.
coffee.
And what you got to do is, I want to hear what
Your
Clint,
turn when I provide you with
Clint,
that.
would you please finish that, please?
Right now, it's citizens' comments.
Clint.
Please.
Excuse me, why should I have been interrupted when I
I didn't interrupt you, ma'am.
Yes, sir, you have.
Clint was trying to explain to you the questions you wanted to answer, ma'am, and he did, and then she told him not to.
But I
It's
have not
not his
finished
turn,
what
it's
I
not
was
your turn,
saying.
sir.
Then
I
he
don't
can
need a turn,
comment.
ma'am. Clint, can you tell us, ma'am, would you mind him answering your
Would
question?
you, no, that's not how it's
Okay.
gonna work.
Then you don't want it to be, you don't
All
want to
right,
find
for the
out.
last time, point of order, one more interruption, we will conclude this meeting and bring it to another day, because that is my right to do that.
And you
when
can't do
you're
that
out of
either,
order.
ma'am. You can't do that either.
Yes, you can. Dr. Miller, I think you just need to not even do comments, because it's gonna be like this through the whole meeting. Don't even do
All right.
comments from the.
I will
We can't even do it.
Excuse me, point of order, where's our officer?
Alex, sit
Sit down,
Alex.
All right. Ma'am,
Do we have any police officers in this room?
I don't think so, but
You what?
now, last time, point of order, we're in citizens' comments.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it through and I'm going to point a few things out to you. All right. First of all, you can see that people in it's a very small room. It is packed full of people shoulder to shoulder. And you've got people at each other's throats. Somebody near the end there told the lady, then sit down. And it sounds like it was Lee Elzy, the guy who swiped his arm at me. The guy who told me to sit. He likes to tell people, sit down. He's was on the planning board. I think he's on the planning board. But when he tells us, sit down then. And she spins around and somebody goes over to confront the guy who says it. And the presiding officer is asking, where's the bailiff? Where's the sheriff deputy to assist the presiding officer to run an orderly meeting? I'm telling you that if WMBB continues to lie to the people and get them riled up, and if the sheriff refuses to have his deputy support the city charter like he does at the county commission meetings, they'll sit your ass down lickety split. If it's Al Cathy up there, Al Cathy used to say, made some lady sit down once, sit down. Hey, and the deputy went, grabbed her, set her ass down. Yeah, they love doing that. But not for Michelle Miller. No, they're sitting there creating an environment where you're going to have senior citizens. It'll be like, do you remember that? What's his name? Somebody remind me of his name. I can't believe how I forget names so easy now. Geraldo Rivera. Do you remember the Geraldo Rivera episode back in the 80s where they were throwing chairs and he got his nose broken and people were shoving each other over chairs? And I'm telling you, it's really close to that. It's a powder keg in there. She calls for, is there an officer anywhere we can get make sure people aren't coming to blows? Nope. I mean, I guess he's in there, but he's sitting down. My name's Paul, and that's between y'all. You know, where's the bailiff in here to support the presiding mayor? My name's Bennett, and I ain't in it. It's really being compounded by them not doing their job. All right, let's watch this again, and I want to point out some things here for you.
Denied it to her.
She's talking about the financial records, denied it to her, and the city attorney will say that's not true. She has access to all the financial records.
Now, I don't understand why people can't understand
Because it's not true, he said.
It is, did you say it's not true? It is true. You're telling me.
Excuse me, can I?
Yes.
Mr. McCall.
Now, what Mayor Miller's doing is proper. She's getting the hang of it. In a meeting like this with Robert's Rules of Order, where they have rules about who speaks at this time, and the person who speaks at this time is the person who the presiding officer or the chairperson. They'll give them the floor. So right now, the citizen has the floor, and she's not to be interrupted. And if anybody wants to answer, they have to ask the presiding officer, may I comment on that? And so she's proper in saying it's her time. She has the floor. Point of order. Now, Jerry Bad Liability Smith, he don't care about that.
Okay, can you avoid comments at this moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I want to, if he's got something, I know, man, you can't stop me now, we're gonna look with you. If he's got something to say that protects the city, go ahead, bang it again. Protect the city, he has the right to keep us out of the lawsuit. Y'all, please.
See that, and that's another example. And honestly, neither side. I mean, I get it. I'm a believer that citizens ought to be able to express themselves, but if it starts to impede the meeting, and when you've got them encouraging you've got which side of this debate here is cheering on disorderly conduct by a council member? That's sort of a clue who's on the right side here.
I brought you something and I forgot to bring it to you. It was the Robert's Rules of Order.
Can I just tell you, I don't know Jerry Smith, but he clearly has a great sense of humor. I mean, he's like a comedian. And I cannot believe after the night before that she endured, that she is so calm under all as all this is going on. Like, you should see what's on this side of the camera that she sees. And she says, I meant to bring you something. And Jerry Smith, being a comedian, is real dramatic. What did you get for me? I mean, he cracks me up.
Something I forgot to bring it to you. It was the Robert's
What was
Rules
it?
of Order. And it's really small. This is Robert's Rules of Order, and it's in the charter.
You can't
I know
make me
you
do
never
that.
read that either.
No, man, you can't make me do nothing. But
You can't make me do nothing. Now, let me tell you something. This is like the day after he received a cease and desist letter from the attorney that says, if you continue to impede her charter duties, we're going to have to pursue the lawsuit. He'll be in depositions under oath. He'll be subpoenaed. And bad liability here is a bad liability on the city, because Adrian Welly, who also received the letter, as did Vice Mayor Richard Wolf, they've got brains enough to be quiet and not impede the presiding officer. He is clearly impeding the presiding officer by charter, and it has to be run by Robert's Rules of Order. And he said, you can't make me do nothing.
Rules of Order. And it's really small. This is Robert's Rules of Order, and it's in the charter.
You can't
I know
make me
you
do
never
that.
read that either.
No, man, you can't make me do nothing. But
I'm giving him the
please,
floor for 1 minute, so if you
Clint.
don't mind, I apologize.
I don't can't do this. I don't need that. That's bull to me. Clint, if you got something to say, 8 minutes.
So I don't know what Councilwoman Linda Hamilton handed him. I don't know if that's probably the charter. I think she's got the charter. I think she handed him the charter, and he said, I don't need that. That's bull to me. Now, I'm not certain that's what she handed him, but I think it is.
I don't need that. That's bull to me.
That's bull to me.
If you got something to say, me as a city councilman would like to hear what you had to say when
I've
people
sat
say.
here on at least 2 or 3
Point of
occasions.
order. Point of order. Thank you, ma'am.
Good job.
Point of order.
She said
You don't
order.
understand this?
Yes, ma'am, I do, but there's.
Apparently you do not understand the Robert's Rules of Order.
Yes, ma'am, you
I
ma'am,
am the presiding officer, sir.
Well, please
and I would
preside.
like for you to stop.
please
stop
preside.
talking
And what you got to do is, I want to
and
hear
take
what
your
Clint,
turn when I provide you with
Clint,
that
would you
time.
please finish that, please?
Right now, it's citizens' comments.
Clint.
Please.
Excuse me, why should I have been interrupted when I
I
had
didn't
3
interrupt you,
minutes
ma'am.
Yes, sir, you have.
I was
That's such a good point by the resident. And I would say that if I didn't agree with the resident, I think I agree with her. Yeah, I certainly do. She says, she hasn't had full access to all the financial stuff, all the invoices, all that stuff. Oh my God. That's where the whole bad liability comes from, by the way. Early on in her term, he argued that it would be a bad liability if she had full access to the financial records. But this is what happens when you have disorderly conduct by a council member. The citizens are the ones who suffer, and she has the floor. She has the legal right to be expressing her concerns. And of course, she's not able to.
Clint was trying to explain to you the questions you wanted to answer, ma'am, and he did, and then she told him not to.
But I
It's
have
not
not
his
finished
turn,
what
it's
I
not
was
your turn,
saying.
sir.
Then
I
he
don't
can
need a
comment.
turn, ma'am.
So look at this. At least Vice Mayor Wolf, Iron Fist there, and Adrian Drama Queen Welly, at least they've got the good sense after receiving the cease and desist letter to stop impeding the presiding officer from running the meeting. Stop. So those two biting hyenas are now, at least it appears to me here, not usurping the presiding officer's duties and responsibilities to run the meeting. But Jerry Smith, though, he said, I don't need a turn. I talk when I want to. Maybe he needs a new nickname. Maybe he's Jerry, I do what I want, Smith.
You're saying.
I
Then
don't
he
need
can
a turn,
comment.
ma'am. Clint, can you tell us, ma'am, would you mind him answering your
Would
question?
you, no, that's not how it's
Okay.
gonna work.
Then you don't want it to be, you don't
All
want to find
right, for the
out.
last time, point of order, one more interruption, we will conclude this meeting and bring it to another day, because that is my right to do that.
And you
when
can't do
you're
that
out of
either,
order.
ma'am. You can't do that either.
Yes, she can. Dr. Miller, I think you just need to not even do comments, because it's gonna be like this in the whole meeting. Don't even do
All right.
comments from the.
I will
By the way, if you wonder why the resident is calling the mayor Dr. Miller, is because she's not the only mayor in Bay County who is a doctor. Over in Lynn Haven, you've got the doctor of leadership. Remember when Jesse Nelson ran for mayor and he lied and said he had a doctor of leadership when he really has a doctorate of ministry, which I don't understand why he's not equally proud to say that. He is Dr. Nelson, but he's not Doctor of Leadership Nelson. And he finally had to take all that stuff down off the internet. But actually, Mayor Miller is a doctor. She's got a PhD in nursing education, I believe. So when you hear people call her Dr. Miller, it's the real thing, and she doesn't claim to be a doctor of leadership or even the doctor of love. None of it.
We can't even do it.
Excuse me,
Did you see that? That I think, and Lee Elsie, if it's not you, you just let me know and I'll apologize. But I think that's Lee Elsie there. The guy that told me the press doesn't give you the right. He's swinging his arm over here, trying to hit me. I think that's it. So he told her, then just sit down before we send you off to Chattahoochee. This is Mexico Beach, baby. And watch how fast she's. let me tell you something. I at least, I'm not as old as Lee Elsie, so he's got more life experience, but I know enough about ladies that you don't tell them to calm down. You don't mansplain. And you certainly don't say, sit down. Watch her swing around here. Ooh.
Point of order.
And I think that prompts a guy to walk, maybe her husband, somebody's walking over like, hey, don't you talk to her that way. And the sheriff's office is nowhere to be found. Hey, let the old guys go nose to nose. Let's see. There's probably guys in the back placing bets right now. I think Lee Elsie can get them 5 to 8. Lee can get them. The other guys over there saying, "Are you nuts? Do you know what he did? He could definitely." They're placing bets. Somewhere the sheriff and the brass are placing bets on who's going to win the fights. I cannot believe the Bay County Sheriff's Office is leaving this to be like, let the chairs fly. It'll be like the current administration, right? We'll only arrest one side. I can already see it.
Where's our officer? Ma'am, do we have any police officers in this room? I don't think so, but it's in the back. Good morning. Now, last time, point of order, we're in citizens' comments.
Told you. Absolute disorderly conduct. So what did we learn? We learned that that WMBB is starting to beat the drum. They went out, they found a guy that says we've already got the recall in progress. And in about next month at some point, probably the end of next month, the signs have already been ordered. We're going to recall this broad and get us old Al back in there. But we're not tolerating this anymore. Follow the charter. Are you nuts? So I'll fill you in on and by the way, just so you know, you can only recall an elected official in Florida according to the mechanism provided by law if they have committed one of 7, I believe, acts like malfeasance, misfeasance, moral turpitude, stuff like that. But what we know in America today, that you don't actually have to do those things for authorities to act on it anyway, right? We know that all over the place in America, right? They'll just say you did it and go through with it, and you can battle it in the courts later. And that's pretty much what I anticipate to happen, actually. Because one thing we know for sure in Bay County is the sheriff's office isn't going to do the right thing. Sorry. I hate that. It's a heartbreaker, to be honest with you. But certainly the state attorney's office, the lead prosecutor, they're not going to do anything about it. As a matter of fact, that's the guy, the state attorney, Larry Bassford, that's the guy who tried to prosecute Michelle Miller last year. They prosecuted her. And then they dropped it because it was BS for a sunshine violation. She's like the only official ever charged with a sunshine violation, her and the other 2 or 3 that they targeted. But when she said, I'm gonna run for mayor, they said, let's arrest her quick, get her off the ballot. Sound familiar? Our state attorney and our sheriff, they remind me so much of what's happening nationally. It's just terrible. It's just terrible. So they prosecutor dragged her name through the mud, had it in the news that she committed sunshine violations as a planning board member, and she still won. And the residents really do want to know where the money went. We don't just want to know where did $49 million go to debris cleanup. See, we want to know what the contractors turned in. How many people actually were working, and how many hours, and how much were they getting paid? Because there's no mechanism to check the contractors. Whatever they turn in is what they go with. That's the main way. When FEMA money is stolen, that's the main way it's done. And I'm not saying that it happened here, but I'm saying it's pretty weird that they're going through so many efforts to keep that out of view. That's what I'm saying. So it's kind of like trust but verify. Right? We're from Missouri, show me. That's all. That's all. So anyway. Oh, she was? And on top of the fold yesterday. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, here's Panama City Beach to raise water. Oh, there we go. Yeah, they never, at a time like this, they've got Panama City Beach had a 42 billion or 40 some million dollar budget just 2 years ago. 42 million. This year, it's 240 million. Because the economy is doing so much better for everybody. Because your electricity and your gas isn't as high as it used to be. You got lots of money, and they got tons of money. I mean, they are flush with cash. They got loot coming out the wazoo in Panama City Beach, but they're still going to raise your water and sewer. Voters are getting smarter, as we can see. And, but you know, at some point, it's really, really your call. Yeah, but my family's friends with that guy who's raising our stuff, you know, and okay. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. Yeah, that's it. All right. Thanks for being with me. I really appreciate it. As always, thank you to the Unknown Patriot for your support. And of course, for all of you who also support Watchdog Journalism by being a patron at patreon.com/Bernie Thompson, $5 a month. It's like a tip. It's easy. It's anonymous. And you can quit at any time. And boy, is it appreciated. All of you who are patrons. Thank you. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. I will see you. I got lots more crazy stuff for you. I mean, really crazy stuff I'm going to be bringing to you very soon. Thank you.